recording. So, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, dear listeners. Welcome to Something for the Weekend with my confederate, Mr. Neil Fissler. How are you doing, Neil?
Hello, Nick. How you going? Hello, everybody. But God knows why people like us talking nonsense on a Friday morning for the weekend.
Especially on a week where you might think, dear listener, that nothing has happened in the transfer window for Millwall, and you could well be right. But there has been some good developments at the Den. Aldo's taken Millwall into the Champions League quarterfinals on Football Manager. So that's good news.
Oh, God
Uh,
almighty, don't start that one. Don't
Steve,
start that.
Steve Kavanagh's booked a very nice caravan holiday at Canberra Sands. He's had the time to do some research on that. And finally, Gary Rowett, really good news. Gary Rowett's upped his nickname game. He's been on a site called Gangster Name Generator. So no more Muzzer. It's now Fat Ugly Arse Whipper, Murray Wallace. Tyler Bury is now Rotten Hobnobber. And Scott Malone is Loose G-Ride Bouncer. No more Scotty Tiles or Muzzer. So it's not been all bad news, Neil.
Yeah, no, well, I'm glad to see. But it's all been time very well spent. But instead of actually getting out and strengthening our squad.
I think I might have to park the career as a comedy writer, listeners. I think I might have to leave that to one side.
You'd still be funnier than Kevin Day, that's for sure, wouldn't you?
It's not difficult. Oh dear! So no signings this week. Obviously, there's been one or two bits of good news. That was the main one of those being the signature of young prospect Romain Esse to his first professional contract. Some really nice clips they put online of Romain. He seems genuinely proud, Neil. It's lovely to see a 17-year-old boy of his first professional contract. He's been with us since the age of 10 or 11 or something of that kind in the junior sides. And then he's genuinely showing pride in signing for Millwall. I just think those clips, it's not been much to talk about this week, but those have lifted my spirits.
To be honest, I think it's probably allayed everybody's fears. We had Zach Lovelace last year break into the first team and then got picked off by Glasgow Rangers. And there would have been an element of our pessimistic support that would have thought, "Oh God, could the same happen?" But we've always said that Millwall traditionally produce our own talent, and it's great to see. This kid is an exciting prospect. I think every time he's come on in the 3 or 4 games that he's come on in, he's looked genuinely exciting.
Dangerous player. Yeah, I agree.
Very, very dangerous player. And what is he, 17, which is absolutely
17-year-old winger.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, it also allays or puts to bed the myth that Gary Rowett doesn't play youngsters. Yeah. Okay, Lovelace was a little bit of a different case. He had to play him because
I
he
think the
didn't
club
have anybody
genuinely
else.
made efforts to keep Zach. I mean, you can't get in the head of a youngster. I mean, the sense and sensibility of going to Glasgow versus staying at Millwall, you're not going to get inside a young kid's head. You can't, as the
The parents
cliche says.
but the
Yeah, I
parents were
mean,
tapped up. Pure and
that's right.
simply, the parents were tapped up, yeah? And Zach Lovelace isn't going to say, "No, Dad, I don't fancy going to Glasgow Rangers. I'll stay at Millwall and you have to give that backhander back." Yeah? Or whatever incentives have been offered.
Incentive, pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
well, we've got a deal in reality, yeah? And, but it's just great to see a 17-year-old, an exciting 17-year-old, coming through the ranks, and we're going to probably touch upon other young players in the course of the next hour. But
yeah.
it's just genuinely exciting that a youngster that looks like a great prospect, we have to be patient with him. We cannot do the normal Millwall thing and that's expect too much from him. If we actually let him develop at his own pace, and but in his own time, we can have a great player on our hands.
I agree. I mean, every time we've seen him, he looks like he's a professional footballer. And you know, for someone that's so young, it's one thing to have talent; it's another thing to look like you fit in at this level. Amongst, in fact, I would go as far as to say he looks like he's a level ahead of many of the players that he's playing against and with. If you know, that's. And I think Gary Rowett touches on that. That he says here, I'm looking at the London News Online. Richard Corley says Gary Rowett, I'm a big believer that if a player is younger than some of the ones in the under 23, but is good enough, you see that real potential. They've got to leapfrog other players. And I think that's what we're seeing with Romain Esse. I mean, you're right. Patience is the key. Not always a quality that's in the in great supply at Millwall, but it's really important that this young player is given at least a year or two to show the clear potential that I think everyone who's seen him would see out there. And the thing that really touched me was he looked so genuinely proud and so keen to be playing for his club, which is Millwall, and that's gold dust.
Yeah, but it's got to be better than flipping burgers down McDonald's, doesn't it? Not that there's anything wrong with flipping burgers down McDonald's or or doing whatever else he was going to do. Yeah,
No,
but this is the
it's
start
just
of a
good to
dream, isn't it, for him?
it's a good to see. I mean, it's easy to knock the modern day footballer, and I just think it was genuinely it came across in the clips. I mean, he's only young, he's excited, but it's just genuinely touching to see a kid so proud to be turning out for the first team of the club that he's been at all of his life, and I just think that's the good news for the week, listeners. I think that is generally good news as well from what we've seen of him. Um, Very difficult to do a podcast, Neil, when there's not an awful lot of news stories to latch onto. Other than that, it's been a pretty quiet transfer window. I mean, pretty quiet as being doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, isn't it? I mean, we've let a lot of players go. Some will be fringe players, some on loan. We'll touch on one or two names in a moment, but um, so far, nothing coming inwards. It looks a bit like Mother Hubbard's cupboard being bare going to Cardiff tomorrow, doesn't it? With a poor old Tom Bradshaw and Vogelsammer possibly sharing the duties up front. There's nothing much else in the cupboard at the moment. I suppose that's in the nature of transfer windows. A lot of business doesn't get done till late, does it? In the last day.
Yeah, no, we touched upon it last weekend, didn't we?
Mm,
In the post game uh, round review that we did.
yeah.
It just it, in in some way it's frustrating. In another way, uh, I'm not panicking. Yeah, I don't live in this age where all of a sudden we haven't signed anyone yet, so close the club. Yeah, uh, yeah, we cancel. Yeah, we cancel the regeneration. Uh, yeah, we'll knock
Build
down.
houses over the den. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll knock down. Yeah, we'll knock down the sausage stand in the car park. Yeah, I think there's an impatience, but but you look at it, we are in a fantastic position to challenge for
Well, we're
promotion.
sitting we're
Yeah,
sitting in eighth. I'm looking at the table right now. I mean, you know, some will say, we're overperforming, maybe, but we are eighth, 39 points, 2 points behind West Bromwich Albion, who have spent the whole season with much more vast resources than we can bring to bear, because that underpins everything here. Neil, I was looking at the. I'm not an accountant, listeners, so I don't presume to look at account sheets with any measure of expertise. But I mean, the financial figures have been out for a while now. In fact, there's a story in the South London, but from John Berylson, kind of preparing the ground, I think, for people not to expect dramatically big signings. I think because when you look at the figures, we chug along with was it 13 million loss,
yeah,
um, and a
or
wage
12 million.
bill of
Yeah, it was
and our
12 million,
revenues.
down from
Our, re-
13, wasn't it?
Our revenues for 2020, 21-22, revenue generated was £18.6 million. Contrast that with a top 20 list of clubs in Europe, which include, I think, Leicester City came in at number 20 they generated 180 million pounds. Now I get that they're a Premier League side, blah 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 blah, but this is the market in which we're trying to compete, and even within the Championship, there are clubs that generate vastly more higher sums than we do. It's just a fact of life, and anyone that thinks that um, we can summon money out of a clear blue sky is been a bit deluded, I think. So, I think every transfer window we have this tension between those that expect there to be you know marquee signings and the reality that we don't really go to the table with the biggest budget, do we?
Well, we can't. Yeah, we can't compete with most of the sides in this division. Yeah, we could compete with some of them if John Berylson chose to whack in 10, 15 million quid. But
Gamble the club, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but he hasn't done it, and it is. Yeah, you're right. You're gambling with your future. Yeah, what happens in you put 10, 15 million pounds in, and we don't make the playoffs, or we don't get promoted. Yeah, you're gambling with the future. I'd much rather, and I've said it. I've said it for quite a long time now. I'd much rather we were in and around where we are every season than go for
Mm.
it, fail abysmally, and end up in League Two in 3 years because we end up in administration, we get relegated, and then we plummet. Yeah, and I think it's unrealistic to expect us to go out and spend vast sums of money that we clearly don't have. Yeah. Uh, yeah, we are a small club and we are punching above our weight. And I think there's an element of the TikTok generation and the younger generation of our fans that need to understand this, and they need to come to the realization of this, and yeah, we just accept it really, and we cannot gamble the future of the club on reaching the playoffs this year.
Achtung, Millwall.
Listeners need to know that we just had an internet breakdown. I'm back now. I think maybe that's the gods of the internet telling me that whatever we're talking about is trying to fill time about nothing happening really at the den. Maybe that's a message we should take on board. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but it was John Berylson telling us, that we really need to put 50p in the internet meter because we haven't got any transfer budget for this season.
Oh dear, some news to talk about, listeners. Players leaving. Obviously, we've already lost. We've Benica Fobe's departed for. Is it Qatar or Dubai? He's gone to. I can't remember which one it was. Abu Dhabi.
Dubai, yeah.
One of those locations. Dubai. Isaac Alofi we know about already, but also this week they're joined by a player I thought looked a prospect, but clearly. Just going back to an earlier topic, when Gary Rowett is judging a player, he must be looking for things that the outsider, I don't know, maybe isn't always apparent. I suppose Bessart Topoloy has signed a full-time offer at Bromley in the National League. I must admit, I was surprised because I thought this boy looked like a prospect, but as you and I were saying on WhatsApp last night, mate, he struggled for a place at Dagenham, didn't he? And he seems to have found his level at Bromley. So clearly, the staff of the club, you have to trust them that they know what they're doing with these kinds of deals, because the player that looked hopeful at Dartford in pre-season maybe isn't quite as the full deal as maybe we expected or thought.
Yeah, I saw one or two of the so-called experts online saying that we were making savings because we're going to be hit with a large bill for the memorial stones and the shortfall in Hummel and things like that.
Yeah,
But we've got to be honest, yeah. Yeah, it was fold the club time. I was reading on Twitter yesterday when it emerged that this lad was leaving. Yeah, let's be frank about it. He's nowhere near our first team squad. He struggled to get a game at Dagenham and Redbridge.
No, he was poor there apparently. Yeah,
yeah, and he's gone to Bromley.
yeah.
He was released by Crystal Palace at under 16 level. Okay, he's gone into our under 23s. He might have looked okay in under 23 football. Yeah, but then you've got to look okay. Wait, you've got to look as if you can be able to step up. It's not like he's gone to Crystal Palace, or he's gone back to Crystal Palace, or he's gone to QPR, or he's gone to Watford, or he's gone to Luton. Yeah, clubs at our level. He's gone down to Bromley. Yeah, and that says that he's probably not good enough to be in the Football League. Yeah, because I'm sure that there might have been Football League scouts that had looked at him and probably thought, no, he's not good enough for us. Yeah, so he's gone to Bromley. So we need to give our heads a wobble. You would get a dose of reality. Yeah, he's gone to Bromley. Yeah, and that says,
well, it's interesting just looking
at have to play for Bromley.
I mean, on that very point, when you look at the clubs, I mean, Isaac Alofe went to Stockport. Okay, he's a bit of a crossroads, and maybe Stockport is the level where he will excel, and we hope he does. Going to leave aside Benicophobe because he's a proven player and he's at the end of his career, so that's a different matter. But Hayden Muller has joined Dundalk in Ireland, and now Topoloy has taken a deal at Bromley. It's interesting where players go to because whereas Zach Lovelace went to Glasgow Rangers, you can get that that's a level where you're going to move onwards and upwards. These are not those kinds of deals, are they? So I take the point. I think it's just a sense, and maybe it's the impatience of social media here, Neil, because there's a sense, obviously, a lot of deals are going outwards, which will impact the wage bill. It will come downwards as a result of all of those respective deals. Pending, we hope, and there's a story today that we were just talking about off air with Gary Rowett saying that he's confident of deals being done. So clearly there's room being made within the wage budget for, we hope, these deals to be done before the end of the transfer window. So I think people just get impatient online. It's the social media and the internet world breeds a very knee-jerk kind of reaction sometimes, doesn't it?
It's exactly right. We'll go and get a blowjob off the missus and get off bloody Twitter and stop wondering if we're signing somebody every 5 seconds. Yeah, just be relaxed about it. I'm as frustrated as everybody else that we haven't bought players in. Yeah, but Christ Almighty, I don't fret about it. It doesn't it doesn't worry my life or impact my life that we haven't signed anybody yet. Honestly, just chill.
There you go.
Watch off the missus, or
relationship advice on the show.
Yeah, seriously, honestly, you're exactly right. Social media is rancid, and people, we haven't signed anyone yet. Personally, I wouldn't have let Benicophobe leave. I don't know about you, Nick. I would have wanted us to have a replacement in before I let him go, because we are woefully short up front. Yeah?
This is the point that struck me.
If something happened to Bradshaw, and then something happened to Vogelslammer, we have not got anybody else. At least he was a body on the bench, and we don't look like promoting somebody like Abdul Malik.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I think he scored 16 goals for the reserves this season, or the under 23s. I'm old fashioned, so I call them the reserves. Yeah. So would he do a job coming in on the bench? Yeah, but I don't see the sense of releasing Benicophobia, unless they had a transfer window. But it should be at our convenience, not at the players' convenience, And I
Agree.
know that Harry wanted rid of him, but in the position we are in the league, unless it's a cost-saving measure, unless they decided that they wanted to save 15 grand a week over 3 weeks,
That's
and
possible. That's
that it
possible.
was a budgetary thing. But come out and say it's a bloody budgetary thing, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, the football world don't
And
seem to operate like that, does it? It's a
no,
weird
it doesn't.
thing.
No, it doesn't. And
You don't admit stuff. I don't know why that is, but
well, I think that we're going back to the original point. If you look at everybody, Hayden Muller's gone to Dundalk, in Ireland.
Yeah.
Which is probably no better than the conference, is it? Let's be honest. Conference or
national league, yeah, I'd
League
say, yeah.
One level,
Yeah.
So he was nowhere near the team, and we've got to get this sentimentality out of it, The guy's gone to Bromley because that's his level. Now then, he may very well come back up again.
Yeah, but hopefully he will. I mean, we wish the boy well, and
Yeah, exactly. I wish him well, but he's nowhere near the first team, and that is with Murray Wallace playing like a drain. So
I think that point about Benick leaving, and to some level, lesser level, Isaac Alofe. I don't understand why we've not retained them at least until towards the end of the transfer window, because it's left us short. And yes, they're both moved on, and that's great for them both. We wish them both well, but I don't understand that. There may be reasons behind it. If it is budgetary, then okay, maybe that's what was on the club's mind. But it just seems to have left us a bit short in two fairly important games. We were short really at Middlesbrough, Borough, wasn't it? Yeah, we got beat 1-0 there, and we're going to be short going to Cardiff tomorrow. So
but that
I don't get that.
Yeah, but the only thing I can think of was that we did have targets in mind, and we thought we were going to get them, and those targets have gone elsewhere. That could be sheer bad luck. If you're in for 3 players, and the clubs have indicated that they're willing to let all 3 players go, and you can't get those players over the line because they choose to go elsewhere, that's fair enough. But to let them go before you get those players in, knowing that in the real world, those players could go elsewhere, it seems a little bit short-sighted. And we are in a fantastic position.
We are.
We're going to come on and we'll probably talk about Cardiff tomorrow.
I mean, it's a big game tomorrow. But just to go back to that story where Gary Rowett is a reassurance story, I suppose, Neil, isn't it? Just to quote it from the London News Online again, Richard Corley. Mill boss Rowett says we will make signings before the end of the window. Whether they're our first choice, third choice, or fifth choice, then who knows? We can't really dictate that. We're working really hard. I don't put too much pressure on people because we're all putting in a lot of effort and a lot of hours. I'm guessing that it's
fifth choice spanks of what I was saying last week about Luke Freeman panic signings. So I don't think he's allaying any fears there. First, second, or third choice, fair enough. You can think that you might not get your first choice, so you want your second choice, and you might look at Kenny Jackett's old scouting list from 1998. That he gradually went through.
It's a
but
marketplace, though, Neil, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
I sometimes think it's as fans, particularly when you read through social media, which probably isn't always a good idea. Maybe some of those remedies that Neil recommended earlier on would be your best choice, rather than trawling through Millwall transfers accounts on on Twitter. But this is a marketplace. The players are entitled, and they will want to get the best possible deal they can to ply their trade, because that's what it is from their point of view. And as clubs are also looking to get the best possible player for the cheapest possible price, that's the essence of the market. So given that there's a deadline, then and there's a reason why many deals get done on these. It's why Sky TV makes such a big hoo-ha about it, isn't it? Because the business will probably be left until late, so that everyone's got the full range of options in front of them. So. And the sad truth is, listeners, that just because Millwall pitch up with a few quid, many players might think, well, I can do a bit better than that. That's the truth. So probably we won't see much action till is it January 31st? Is the closing? I think it is, isn't it? The closing the deadline day.
The transfer window closes on January 31st, or Tuesday, as it's normally known down at Millwall. It's no other day of the week, isn't it? Yeah, we're not transfer.
The old ones, all the old ones are coming out today, aren't they?
But no,
Neil and I are going to set ourselves up as stand-up comedians.
Yeah, well, I should be a stand-up comedian. I'm funny enough, but to be honest, we have got until Tuesday week. Transfer deadline day. I'd rather we didn't wait until Tuesday week, because we needed options up at Middlesbrough, didn't we? And
we did. We will tomorrow.
Tomorrow's another tough one. Tomorrow's another tough one. Then, but they don't score a tremendous amount of goals. They've just sacked Mark Hudson, the manager. After 4 wins in 18, I would, I'd much rather it have been 4 wins in 20 after we beat them tomorrow. But we have to be patient. You can't. We can't constantly. Oh, Millwall haven't signed anyone today. Fold the club. No. Just get over it. Just have a chill. Have a chill.
Tomorrow's opponents, Cardiff.
Get on with it.
We've done that. We've had all that. We don't keep putting that image in people's minds. Tomorrow's opponents, Cardiff, are 21st, one place above Huddersfield Town in the third relegation spot. 7 wins, 12 losses. No wins in the last 5, according to the BBC's championship table here. And it's a game where really, Neil, we've got to be looking to capitalise tomorrow. Light up front or not, we've got to get some goals. I think we've also got to be looking for 1 or 2 players, and I'm thinking probably of Zian Fleming here to step up. But he's been quiet last couple of games, and maybe we expect a lot now because of the high bar that he set for himself. But we do need to start seeing a little bit more goalmouth action, because that was really where we fell badly short up there at the Riverside Stadium last week. And tomorrow's a big game, big 3 points at stake for us.
Yeah, I've been to Cardiff a few times. It's never a place where we seem to score that many goals, and I doubt somebody will correct us. But they aren't doing well. Yeah,
no, they're not.
Take advantage of it. Yeah, and let's go down there, and that's come back with 3 points. We need 3 points if we're gonna. We're going to keep in touch with people. But let's be honest, Cardiff have shown themselves up this week to be the kings of shithousery. We're trying to insure a player for 20 million quid the day after his plane crashed into the channel, which is probably not the brightest thing to do down there.
True.
Yeah.
So you're on form today, you are, aren't you? Blimey.
So let's go down there and let's heap more misery on them. Little old Millwall go down there. We're going to have it's going to be like Friends reunited. Marlon can be down on one knee with his fist up in the air if he wants. Yeah. We're just going to run straight over the top of him.
He's injured. He won't be round there.
Oh, you're joking? He's injured. Have I just
think
come
he
up
is.
with that line and he's
Yeah, I think
injured?
you have. I think you have. Let me have a look at the. Haven't checked the Cardiff News, listeners, for this kind of prep for these shows. I don't really look at the opposition. If you want that, you go to other places for that kind of
Yeah,
info,
well, it
don't
is
you?
Marlon, though, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Talking about Neil
it might
Warnock
be
coming back to
something.
manage them as well. So there's another
Yeah, well, it might be
blast in the
something
past.
that it could lift the doom and gloom that's online and around the place. Yeah, if we can go down, then we can put in a decent. We can put in a. We can put in a Preston North End type performance.
Well, we've not been
Um,
trained. We've been training at the Den all week, listeners, because Calmont Road has fallen victim to the freezing temperatures. I think this is one of the points I wanted to make in the show. Now, it's just probably a good point as to why the club are so keen to relocate the whole training operation down to Brands Hatch once that has come to pass, because the Calmont Road is essentially a school playing field, isn't it? Really, it's got its gym and it's got its facilities there, but it's the actual ground itself is not really first class. When you look at how I was at the cricket at Beckenham in the summertime, next door to the Palace training centre, and it does look like a different level to what we're working with. So, given that Calmont has not been available to us, they've been training at the Den. It just does give a bit of a sense as to why maybe the club's investing in facilities rather than potentially players in this transfer window.
Claremont Road. I know it's owned. Yeah, is it owned by Cambridge or Oxford University, something like that?
Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah,
And and you can't have an indoor. Yeah, well, I know they like these tented. They
yeah.
put
They do.
essentially a big tent marquee over a pitch, don't they? And they can put
Yeah,
hot hot air blowers in there and things like that. So and and I doubt we can do that down at Claremont Road. So it's all part of this gradual dragging Millwall into 2020, whatever it is, 2023,
absolutely.
2024, whenever it'll be built. We're coming into yeah, with we're coming into this from a standing start. So and we have said it many times, the club is getting more professional. It's getting better run in many ways. Yeah, and we can't be little old Millwall with its League One training facilities, can we? Or
No,
its League Two training facilities.
no. I think Romeo's injured. He wasn't in the team that played Leeds in the week in the cup for Cardiff. I'm sure I read that he's out for a few weeks. Let's have a look at the game against Wigan for them. Blah blah blah. No, he wasn't in that team either. He wasn't on the bench, so I think he must be out injured at the moment. So I'm afraid there'll be no boo boy villain for the travelling support tomorrow. Big game though, Neil. It's I thought last week's was a big game up at Middlesbrough. We got slightly well, we were overrun in the first half, and the game got away from us really once we went that goal behind early in the second. So it's important that we don't get overrun tomorrow because Cardiff are struggling, and we need to bring our top game down there, in my opinion.
Yeah, no. Apparently, a couple of weeks ago he was going to be out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury, and he'd been one of their standout players, which doesn't say an awful lot about about the rest of his teammates, given their form, really, does it? Or with the lack of it.
He's,
But as
he,
I've
I mean,
said,
obviously,
we
go on.
do need to go down there. We need to put in a performance, and we need to come back with 3 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'd like to see us score 2 or 3 goals and boost our goal difference. But if Vogel Slammer wants to hit one in off his bollocks in the last minute, I'll gladly accept it. I'll gladly accept a 1-0 win.
Bit
Yeah,
of a
it's just
Vogel Sammer reaction online lately. I don't know. We do like to look for boo boys and villains of the piece, and I've just noticed one or two comments around the Twitter scene, slightly digging at Vogel Sammer. I think he's been an unlucky player. I mean, you can argue about his expected goals rate and God knows what other statistical measure that people bring to football matches now, but I remember him hitting the woodwork a few times. I'd like to see him maybe getting involved in the goalmouth action a little bit more, taking a few more chances. He had a poor shot against Sheffield United. He put the ball wide, didn't he? But I think he's been unlucky, and I don't think he's quite the. He's been cast as a weak link, and I don't think he is a weak link in the side personally.
Mate, he's been classed as shit.
I don't think he's shit. He's not shit.
He's not shit. He's not shit. He was signed as a striker, and we're playing him as a winger. Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't get too many chances. And there have been 2 or 3 games recently. He's looked pretty good. He looked fantastic at Watford, didn't he? And I think the game afterwards, a home game, he looked fairly decent. But he's a striker, and we're playing him out wide.
It's this strange Millwall need for there to be someone responsible for.
Yeah, but there has to be a pantomime villain, doesn't there? Yeah, but Tyler Bury's
injured, so he can't fill that role. It's got to be Andreas Vogelsam. I think it's just a bit unfair.
Yeah, Benica Phobe's gone. Yeah, but Benica Phobe's now in Dubai. Yeah, Tyler Bury's injured, so we have to have somebody. Yeah, well, you're right. Somebody in that side has to be the target of everybody's disaffection, or dissatisfaction, And Murray Wallace will be next in line because he's been playing awful all season.
He's I think it's just, I don't know where it comes from, what people expect. We are, I remind everyone, 8th in the championship table now. For many, many years of our history, that's been we would dream of being at this level. So get a bit of perspective.
Yeah, that's 8th top, isn't it, Nick? Not 8th bottom. We're 8th top. Yeah,
no,
yeah, and we still have to look for the. We still have to look for the negatives. Yeah,
that's the Millwall way.
We are 8th top in the championship. Yeah, we are pushing for promotion or the playoffs against teams that are receiving millions and millions in parachute payments.
Millions of pounds more than we get, listeners. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
And some of those clubs are taking out loans, so they get even more to spend because they're gambling their futures on the promised land. Yeah, and until they stop parachute payments and make it a level playing field, a club that's given £150 million in the Premier League shouldn't need a parachute payment. You don't have to spend all of that money, and they don't spend all of that money. You have clauses in contracts which say, if you're in the Premier League, we'll pay you 40 grand a week. But if you're in the Championship, you come down to 15 grand a week or 20 grand a week. Yeah. You cut your cloth. You don't gamble on it. Yeah. You don't say, chance of us getting relegated, we blah, blah, blah. You have to be smart about it. And
it's a strange,
smart.
Strange thing with fans spending what is essentially other people's money in a sense, because the calls are always to be ambitious. I saw a post, I can't remember who it was, someone said that Mill, as ever, don't show ambition. But it's that very point you've just made then. I mean, you look downwards through the various divisions, you can find many, many clubs that have gone, as the expression has it, chasing the dream. You could start with Bradford City, who I think languish still in League Two, but they at one point were playing at the top table, but then they overstretched, overspent, and then you're going to look at the likes of Bolton Wanderers, Portsmouth, ex-Premier League side, Ipswich are in League Two. I mean, maybe they're having a decent season now at last, but you don't have to look very far. Charlton, if you want to, teams that overstretch themselves, that get ideas that they are something that they're not, and they've got some divine right to be at the top table, then find themselves pretty swiftly tumbling through divisions. And I'm even looking at this season's championship division. You got Wigan rock bottom, Huddersfield, another side that have played in the top tier, and then Cardiff above the bottom three. It's not difficult to see teams struggling, and we just don't have the resources to go gambling at the top table, the high rollers table, whatever way you want to put it. And
yeah, with that
realism,
argument,
we need some realism, don't we?
yeah, but exactly, and but that's what I hope I bring to this. Yeah, a little bit of realism. I cannot stand this lack of ambition. It's a fucking nonsense. It really is a nonsense. Yeah, we are showing ambition. We spend what we can afford to spend. Yeah. Would I like us? Yeah, well, I know we've been linked with Lyndon Dykes, haven't we? In
For
the
a $3
Daily
million
Mail
bid,
morning,
apparently, rejected. We've just seen that.
or Landon Dykes, whatever he's called, the QPR striker.
Yeah.
Would I? Do I want him? I don't. Not really. I think we can. I've only seen him play a few times. Is he better than what we've got? Yeah, definitely. Is he worth?
It's whether you want to pay that kind of money for him, isn't it?
Yeah, he's 27. It would move away from, I think, what they're trying to do is, and that's to sign players that we can add added value to, and then we can sell on, like Fleming. Yeah. I don't see that we could do that with him.
No.
Would we be better with that 3 million quid? If we've got 3 million quid, I don't believe that for a month of Sundays we would bid £3 million on a striker from one of our championship rivals. Would we be better off spending that £3 million in Germany or in Holland or in Belgium or in France?
Yeah, wherever you want to go.
Absolutely, we would. Yeah, but
who knows the strength? I mean,
I just don't see that we have made a £3 million bid for him. I think
come from
is in cuckoo land.
The hitman tipster he calls himself on Twitter, so it's an authoritative source, listeners. The hitman tipster says QPR rejected a $3 million. Who knows? It's as Neil has just said.
Yeah, but the hitman tipster with about 3 followers who picks
the shitman tipster, maybe.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, well, he picks everything up out of the newspapers or wherever, or do they nick it off him? Yeah, somebody. Yeah, with something. Yeah, one thing's for sure. Somebody's got a fucking vivid imagination, thinking that we're going to bid £3 million on Dykes. Honestly,
absolutely.
What a load. Yeah, we know what happened now, Nick, don't you? We'll sign him this afternoon for £3 million quid.
I know what to say. What a shit podcast that is. Let's take a short break, listeners. After these matches, we'll be back with Neil. I just want to run one or two other items from the world of football past Neil before we close. Welcome back. Neil, you're a rugby union man, and I've been reading some proposals. These are not rule changes yet, listeners, but the International Football Advisory Body, I imagine that means. But anyway, it's like a rules-making committee of FIFA that sits and considers rule changes, some of which I think are borrowed from the world of rugby union, because I've seen some of this in some of the games that I've watched over the time. First up as proposals for rule changes is either a countdown clock, as we see in the likes of American football or any of the US sports, actually have a clock running downwards. So to eliminate, time wasting and game management, or the alternate approach that we saw in the World Cup in Qatar, where you have quite extensive amounts of added time put on the end of games to compensate for this awful expression, game management. I'm not overstruck on countdown clocks in football. They would have, it would start and stop as the ball goes in and out of play. I quite liked, and I'm interested in what you think, Neil, I quite like the extensive added time that we saw in Qatar. How do you see either those two proposals, countdown clocks or added time, being used as a compensation, so to speak?
Yeah, well, actually, IFAD is actually FIFA and and England, it's a combination. It's a board made up of
FA.
FIFA, the FA, Scottish FA, Welsh FA, and
The
Irish
home
FA.
nations. Yeah.
Yeah, but who essentially, because we actually hold the rights to football and things like that, and
Yeah.
it's all complicated. But well, that's what I've had is a countdown clock for what? It just seems, if we're stopping a clock every time the ball goes in and out of play, we're going to be there all day, aren't we? Let's be honest. Yeah, let's be frank about it. There is some natural wastage in football. Yeah, you can't go stopping the clock every time the ball goes in and out of play, because as you see down the Den and various other ground, virtually every other ground, the ball goes into the crowd. Fred catches it, then passes it on to his son, who wants
little
to
Johnny.
yeah. Who then holds it up and down and cuddles it and then whatever else. And then he tries to throw it back into play, but unfortunately he can't throw it that far. So then he has to go and retrieve it and think, oh, it's a bit of a faff, isn't it? Let's be honest. Yeah. The problem with football is they don't like change. Yeah. And there are certain commentators on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not gonna name any names. Carl Bates. Yeah.
Poor old Carl. What's he said? What's he done?
Yeah, no, sorry, mate. Yeah, no, I'm just. But there are people. But I think that there were people moaning about the amount of time added on when we had 9 and 10 minutes. Now that Carl
in the World Cup,
right, if it wasn't him, but I think he did comment on it. I know he's not a fan of VAR, but really, if you're a manager and you keep on getting 9-10 minutes added on and you're losing goals, you're conceding 2 goals in that 9 or 10 minutes, surely it's a bit of a wake-up call. Yeah, I know they're trying to make the game faster. They're trying to get the ball in play more, and there is an awful lot of time wasting when you see a goalkeeper hugging onto the ball. And
I mean,
whatever happened to the 5-second rule? Or 6
that seems to be ignored. My pet hate is how long it takes to start the game after a goal. I mean, you've got at least a minute between a goal being scored, and once you've done your group hug and you're kind of like punching the air and all the rest of it, this kind of Sunday morning stroll back to your own half to reform.
But that is up to the referee to stop his watch. Yeah,
it should do. They don't do that. I think that's the point, isn't it?
The referee does have the control. I saw somewhere they're on about a timekeeper. No, the referee is the sole arbiter of time in football. Yeah. And it's up to the referee. I know sometimes we've all sat there, haven't we, at games and 5 minutes gone up. Yeah. And you're thinking, where in the hell has he got 5 minutes from? But by the same token, when 2 minutes goes up, when it's quite obvious that
not enough.
A lot of the game, it isn't enough. Yeah. The referee is the sole arbiter of time, and I want to see him stay the sole arbiter of time.
A good idea. One of the things they're proposing that I do like, which is borrowed from the world of rugby league and union, I believe, league, is referees with a microphone to explain their decision making, particularly with VAR. They're trialing the kind of they do it in the US as well, don't they? Where the American football, the umpires there will give a kind of a loudspeaker announcement as to what happened, why they're making that decision, and play continues. I mean, it's commonplace in rugby union, I think, Neil, isn't it, to have this, and it seems to work quite well.
Referees are mic'd up in rugby union, so you can hear them during play. Yeah, and it is all times you can hear them. Yeah, and you can hear them explain things to the players. You can hear the conversation between the referee and the TMO.
Yeah.
We'll have the rugby union version of VAR.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm not, where it falls down, I think, would be where you watch, say, the Nigels against Manchester United the other day, and he's a great player, but I think he's an horrible bastard, Bruno Fernandes, where he obviously runs up and is haranguing the referee. Yeah. I don't think they want that kind of
bad for publicity.
They don't want players running up and but I think it happened, didn't it? Yeah, but it happened.
Done the Den. They did it with David Ellery.
With David Ellery, wasn't it? And
that's right,
Millwall Arsenal, and Tony Adams is quite clearly heard running up to him and calling him a fucking cheat, wasn't it? I think it was Tony Adams, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think the Lions. We got beat by Arsenal. It was a tough match, and this was back in the First Division days, obviously. But I don't think anyone had told the Arsenal team that the referee was going to be mic'd. I think the Millwall side knew, because they were kind of conducting themselves like they were at a Sunday morning prayer meeting, whereas which would have been highly unusual given some of the personalities in that side. Whereas the Arsenal team, which was Tony Adams and Nigel Winterburn and
Lee Dixon and all
Lee
of that,
Dixon, a classic Arsenal side, weren't in on the news, so they carried on like normal, which made them look, very, very poor in the cold light of day. But there we are.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. I really do. And part of the problem is when there are these long VAR breaks.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to know what's going on. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, I do like VAR. Yeah, I think I wish I'd get a bit smarter with the use of it, but I think the concept of it is pretty good. Yeah,
no, I agree.
It does eliminate, or it should eliminate horrendous errors. I know that sometimes the idiots that make the rules don't help. And then you've got the clowns that are using the VAR are the same clowns that are missing this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But I think the concept of it is good, and I actually think the concept of this is of miking referees up.
Miking a referee. I think that's a great idea.
Football is stuck in the dark ages.
It is.
Yeah, there's a big thing about concussion in rugby at the moment.
Well, that was the one I was just going to come on to. Concussion subs. Yeah.
Fantastic idea. Yeah? How many times have we seen Jake Cooper wandering around like he's drunk after he's had a head injury? Yeah, I think it's happened at least once this season. Or Sean Hutchinson, for instance. Yeah? Football is resistant to change. And it's a serious issue, concussion and head injuries at the moment. Yeah. But football doesn't seem to want to take it seriously. No. Yeah, you only have to go on to Twitter and ask Jeff Astel's daughter.
Yeah, there've been others as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And absolutely. Ask Nobby Styles' son, Johnny. Yeah. And ask Bobby Charlton's children.
Yeah.
Ask Hayley McQueen on Sky. Her dad, Gordon McQueen.
Leeds.
Yeah. Yeah. I think down at Millwall we've got a couple of players very badly struggling with dementia now, and a very young player. I'm not going to mention who it is because obviously, these things in confidence and
no, absolutely,
and, want that. Yeah, you get told stuff, but it just football is resistant to change, and it should be open to it, and it should open its mind to the things like this. And I think concussion subs and miking the referees up, I'm not in favour of this bloody ball in and out of play, but I don't mind a lot of added on time if teams are
No, I
time
don't.
waiting.
That would be my choice. The added on time, where deliberate game management, where you're kind of running the clock down or whatever way you want to put it, but where teams are exploiting that, I'd like to see that added on. I don't have a problem with that. Referee being mic'd is commonplace in other sports. I think you're right, Neil. I think football is so conservative with a small c about change. Concussion in many other sports, it's seen as a danger of playing a game, and they have policies and arrangements made to take it into account. Football is such a stick in the mud sport in many respects. I don't know why, but it just is.
Yeah, I think that football, as far as concussion are concerned, they're worried about this the huge lawsuits. The NFL have had one, haven't they? Rugby with progressive rugby. There's
Cutting into their profits that they make. Yeah,
there's a huge lawsuit going on in rugby at the moment.
that's
And
right.
I think that football is worried that they could be next. And I'm pretty damn sure that they will be next.
It's coming. It's coming. Just to close us, I thought just for a change, really. We haven't done a history program for a long while, Neil. But I found a game I was at. This is January the 21st, which will be tomorrow. We're going to go to Cardiff tomorrow, January the 21st. But in 1974, Millwall beat Fulham on a Sunday morning. A very remarkable thing back in its time, 1974. I'm just looking at the back page of the Daily Mirror. The goal that made history was scored at 11:34 on January the 20th. January 20th. This is the Monday paper, 21st. Mill's Brian Clark scored against Fulham. We beat Fulham 1-0. That was the first Football League match ever played on a Sunday. That wasn't quite the first Sunday games. I think they played a couple of FA Cup games the week before, but certainly the first.
Played actually quite a few FA Cup ties, I believe, because funnily enough, when I was on the Sunday Express, I attempted to find the first person to score a goal
on a Sunday.
And it was Andy Lockhead of, I believe it was Andy Lockhead.
Aston Villa player.
Yeah, of Burnley. I phoned his house. I spoke to his wife, but unfortunately, I think he's actually died from dementia now. But he was in a bad way and couldn't talk to me about it.
Right. He was the very first. Right.
Yeah, I believe he was the first player to score on a Sunday in the FA Cup. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think it was in the days of the
industrial turmoil. Industrial turmoil.
Much the same way as it is now, really, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I thought I've already done my stand-up for the show, but I was going to construct a very elaborate story of a failing Conservative government with industrial unrest and football floundering for an answer in dire circumstances, but I couldn't quite get it together. So anyway, that's 48 years ago, and I can't tell younger listeners how strange it felt. We kicked off at 11:30 as a Sunday morning game. How strange it was to be going to football on a Sunday. It completely blew your Saturday routine out. Obviously, the football world then revolved around Saturday 3 p.m. as this kind of generalised, with one or two minor exceptions. Every game kicked off at Saturday 3 p.m. And to change that routine felt so weird, especially on a Sunday, Neil, in an era where Sunday meant Sunday. Everything was shut and quiet, and it was just a very odd experience to go there. But it was a big crowd there at the Den for this game, 15,143. It was felt to be a big success, and in some ways, despite the tough times that provoked the idea of Sunday football, in some ways, I think the modern era of football started to take hold from there onwards, because that was breaking new ground, and it was the start of many changes in the game over the years that followed. But that was, for me, that was the first. It was a major change, and it was 48 years ago. I just thought I'd mention that because I was just looking at something online earlier on, and I thought actually
let's not go into it too much. I tell you what we'll do. Well, we'll actually have a look at it over the next couple of days, and we'll do a history show on it maybe sometime
That's a good
next
show.
week.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah,
So we'll come back with that one.
a
This
little
is
bit more depth.
yeah, Millwall 1, Fulham 0, 20th of January 1974. I was 13 years old at the time. Neil, I think we've reached the end of our agenda, mate. It's been a bit of we've had internet problems. I've had the cats running around in front of me. I've had all sorts of things here, but we got there in the end. Neil, thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, no problem, mate. No problem. Yeah, but it's just good. Funnily enough, I'm sat here in the sun. The sun's beating in through the window. We put the world to rights on a Friday morning for everyone. Yeah, it's a great time to be alive, mate, isn't it?
Especially if you're getting that BJ off your missus rather than looking through Twitter, looking for Millwall transfer stories. I think that's a much, much better option. Anyway, there we are. Thank you for listening to listeners. I'm going to go and do myself a cup of coffee after all that. Anyway, thank you for listening. Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now. Nice one, mate.